Shalom. Call Halal, YAHAWAH, YAHAWASHI, Rakakatash. Triple honors to the apostles of Great Millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect, and salutations to the aqua of the listening and learning. We also want to say salutations to the scattered Hebrew Israelites around the world that are dealing with consternation, dealing with subjugation, dealing with all types of evil atrocities against them. And we know that they all don't look like dark, Kadar-skinned people. They are also of confusion of face, which means that they have the look that some people call white people or Edomites. But that's not the case. This is your brother, Shalom. This is your brother, Obadiayahing. And today I got a nugget. I'm going to do a nice little nugget today, and I hope that you like it. What I want to address is sort of a complicated subject to a degree, because we get this a lot. When the Akim are out on the highways and byways and they're teaching, or in general, when you get in a conversation with one of the religious practitioners in the world, one of the questions that they always come up and say is, do you keep the law? And how are you keeping the law? How are you keeping all 613 commandments or more? How are you keeping the whole book of the Torah? How are you keeping the whole book of the law and the book of remembrance? Is that possible? No, you can't do it. And they always say you can't. They say, no, you can't do it. Well, I'm here to dispute the fact that you can do it. And when I say you can do it, I mean, what I'm talking about is not can you follow every single one of those laws as we are here in this particular captivity that we are in presently. Yes, that is true. If you look at the back of your dollar, you will see we're in Mizraim, which is bondage, which is also a representation of Egypt. And you can't leave this country unless they give you some kind of document to produce in order for you to go in and out. And in most cases, you can't get out anyway because they won't let you. Okay, so, and they're building a wall to keep you in, not just to keep people out. So let's just not get that twisted. Okay, so let's move forward on this. And let me talk about what I want to talk about, specifically what the Ruach HaKodesh put on my spirit. And Yahweh said, address this. So it's been bugging me for a little while, and I've been thinking about it, praying about it, staying about it, and now I think I want to try to address it, and I'm just praying that the Ruach HaKodesh, YAHAWASHI, is going to protect this issue and let me get it out as best possible. And what I want to talk about is strictly this. The Father says that we are to not only know His commands, but we are to do them. So is anybody of the brethren teaching any of the Akim and the apostles and the elders of the GMS and others who are teaching what they teach as the truth, teaching any of the people who are the elect or the ones who will be called to be the elects by YAHAWASHI, how to do the commandments? That's a very, very serious subject. When people say, do you follow the law? Do they mean, do you just understand what it is that you're supposed to know about it? Are you honoring it in terms of the practice of, let's just say, reciting and speaking of it, teaching it to your children? But what about the actual physical application of the doing of them? Now, granted, we know that there are some laws that pertain to the temple and pertain to the priesthood, the Levitical priesthood, and that pertain to specific cultural issues that surround the area upon which the land was consummated and so forth, in terms of the consummation of the people and the consummation and the purification of various individuals and practices opposite the blood sacrifices that YAHAWASHI took care of. So I'm not saying you have to go out and sacrifice an animal. That's not what I'm talking about. That part has been taken care of. Yahweh took care of that, and that's why we worship the Father, Yahweh, because he provided. Our Father, our Heavenly Father, is our ultimate Savior, and he provided that. So it's good to know why he said you have to do his commandments, okay, and how to do them. But I guess the first thing we probably need to do is get into understanding what they are. Because if you don't know what they are, or you don't understand what they are, how could you do them or not do them, right? So let's go right down. Let's get down right straight to Deuteronomy. We're going to go to Deuteronomy, and I'm going to start at chapter 5. And I'm going to read at the top first, but then I'm going to get down to where the commandments are talked about. It says, and Moses called all Israel and said unto them, Hear, O Israel, the statutes and judgments which I speak in your ears this day, that ye may learn them and keep and do them. Learn them, keep them, that means they don't ever go away, and do them. Now the do means it's a verb that means you have to actually perform an action. You have to get into it and physically become attached to it and perform within it. So that's what you're going to have to try to do here in terms of understanding what it is you got to do. Okay. All right. Now, it says here also that the Lord made not this covenant with our fathers. Let me say it again. The Lord, Yahweh, made not this covenant with our fathers, but with us, even us, who are all of us here alive this day. So that means a lot. So those that passed before him, now who is that the fathers he's talking about that he didn't do it with? Well, he didn't do the covenant with Adam to the degree that he has the covenant with us who are alive, which means anyone who has already transitioned back home to the Father cannot perform the laws, statutes, and commandments, obviously, because they're not here to perform them in that manner. So I'm not saying that they didn't have the covenant as part of who they are, because as long as they are part of that seed line, which is the seed line that started all this, the covenant applies to them as far as when the kingdom comes. So don't get it twisted and I want to make you think that this is a covenant that is excluding anyone who's of the seed that the Father chose. It's not excluding of the seed the Father chose. Notice I said who he chose. Not who chose him, because you can't choose him, and you can't graft yourself into a seed line or bloodline if you have not already been born into that through your fathers. Okay, so just want to clarify that. All right, let me go ahead and get down here a little bit further. All right. And I want to go to 6, and it says, I am Yahawah, thy power, or as the people say, I am the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage. Egypt and bondage is the same. This would be Mizraim, and that would be bondage, which is the same meaning. Thou shalt have none other gods before me. Now, that's the first one. Okay, clearly, there's a lot of people. You could go to most religious practitioners who have various flavors of Christian belief and ask them at least the simplest thing, like, what are the 10 Commandments? And I can pretty much guarantee you that there will be a large percentage of them that don't even know them, let alone practice them. They don't even know them. They probably can't even get past the first 5, or I doubt if they could get past the first 3. And if they could get to 8 and 9, then that would be remarkable. I mean, because they don't read the Bible and they don't know it. So clearly they wouldn't even know the commandments. Okay, so that first one, when Yahweh says, thou shalt have none other gods before me. Now, is the Father saying that there are individuals that are at his level in terms of him being Yahweh Almighty, God? No, he's not saying that. What he's saying is, in your mind, you people who have taken my creation and thought of it as something beyond your comprehension, you have chose to make it a form of a deity or a form of understanding that's above anything you can imagine. So now that's your God. Okay. Now clearly this can kind of drift over towards where Yahawah, our Father, is, but at the same time it cannot, because he only gave you a metabolism level to understand who he is at what point he gave you knowledge to know that. Something that's called a theopoly. Look up theopoly. I'm not going to look it up for you right now because I've got to finish what I'm studying here. And what I've studied here and give you to finish this up, because I want to get to the do part. Okay. How do you do this commandment when it says, thou shalt not have other gods before me? Okay, well, clearly the do part comes in meaning do not do that which is what he doesn't want, meaning having some other representation of what you think is him or above him, before him, so you don't do it. So, okay, how are they doing it now that they shouldn't be doing? That's a good point, right? Okay, all right, here's a way. I'm going to go back and then I'm going to come forward with it so that you get both perspectives of this. Okay, first go back. Remember when Abram, before he was Abraham, was with his father Terah, and his father had all these little statues and idols that were made by him or whomever, whoever's hand, and he had them in this room, and he told Abram these were his gods. Okay, clearly the same kind of African Haministic, paganistic situation stemming from way back past Nimrod that they were doing. He believed that these particular made materials from materials and substance that Yahawah has built and made and created on the earth can be formed into some type of God or some type of representation of worship that he could get close to, because he couldn't seem to find a way to get close to the Most High. And the reason why is because the Most High didn't choose them to be close to him. He passed by Esau and Ishmael and the Hamite lineage. He passed by him, which means he didn't deal with them. So clearly didn't have no relationship with them anyway. But he had it in a room where his son, Abram, who became Abraham, was subjected to and exposed to. And of course, Yahawah saw fit to call him out and say, this is not me, and you don't do this. So what you don't do, first of all, is you do not get any form or fashion of something that is of a physical nature and put it up as a display. I don't care if it's a picture. I don't care if it's a emblem, amulet, a medallion, a cross, a statue, a menorah. I don't care what it is. Do not worship that and put that up as being the Father himself, Yahawah, because that's what you cannot do. That's a do not. That's not a do, it's a do not. And then you have people in the world who do this. Specifically, you have a lot of the religious practitioners who have developed and enveloped their own type of religious belief system, and they have representation that they say this is in place of or in retrospect to their worship deity God to them. And this is what they're doing, which is a do not do. Okay, as I said, don't do that. So if you don't do that, then you're making sure that you perform the first commandment, which is don't worship something or have something physically in place. And this is going to follow through on the second too as well. That has no direct realization or validation to our Father, Yahawah. Okay? All right. Now, so you don't do that. Okay? All right. Thou shalt not make any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the waters beneath the earth. Okay? So that, see, it goes right into the next one. It says, you're not supposed to even attempt to make anything. So see, don't do that. Don't make anything that that you think is a representation of anything that you surmise in your imagination that is supposed to be Yahweh or YAHAWASHI. You don't do that. But this is what we have been doing to break these commandments. And this is why he said don't do those things. Okay, let's go to the next. Okay, it says, thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them, nor serve them, for I, Yahweh, thy power, am a jealous power, God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. So he's saying, if you do this, okay, and you go ahead and bow yourself down to these things that you've created from his creation, that you are going to get judgment on you, and it's going to be quick and swift. Hey, we're perfect examples of this as the Israelites, the Hebrew Israelites that have went against the Most High, against the Yahweh, and went on ahead and started worshiping false gods and wood and stone. And he said once he scattered us, and we're going to get to those scriptures, that this is what was going to happen. And so clearly you can see that's another breaking of one of the commandments, which you're not supposed to do. So if you don't do that, then now you're doing what the commandment says not to do. Okay, you're doing that, you are breaking. If you don't do that, then you're not breaking. So that's a do, that's an actual action that you're taking, okay? All right, now moving on. And it said, and showing mercy upon thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. So you see, you get mercy, and everybody wasn't breaking them, but those who were pulled a lot of us and all of us in through that. Not all, but enough that you can see that it rolls through our lineage clearly and very strongly. Thou shalt not take the name of Yahweh thy power, or the Lord thy God, in vain. For the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Now see, this also talks about blaspheming the Ruach HaKodesh, and saying that that you have the Holy Spirit when it was not given unto you. If you're not the chosen people who were given the Holy Spirit and having it, you're blaspheming the Holy Spirit or the Ruach HaKodesh when you claim that you have it and you don't. Because he only gave it to Israel and his children. He did not give it to anyone else, so they can't claim it, even though they tried. You got a lot of wacky-tacky religious practitioners who say, you know, I got the Holy Spirit and all this, but no, you don't, okay? You only have it if the Most High has selected you to get it as a chosen seed of his chosen people. And unless you have that, you don't have it. Now, what's the other way? So don't do that. That's a don't do. Don't claim something that you have, that you think you have that you don't, because then you're lying, and you're lying on the Father, and you're taking his name in vain. Now, how else do you take his name in vain? Well, when you go to these particular wicked buildings and facilities where there's a bunch of false religious practitioners up in there, and they are claiming that they are representatives of the Most High, Yahweh, and that they are there to expound on Yahweh and his son, YAHAWASHI, who he sent to save his people. And you get in these particular facilities, and they go in there and they show you a picture and a face of an entity that was created by Yahweh, which was an Edomite by Caesar Borgia, and when Caesar Borgia is not a representation of YAHAWASHI, nor does he represent Yahweh. And so when you go in there and you claim that name, you go in and claim a name that's not his name, you go in there and claim a Jesus Christ name, or you go in there and claim a Yeshua or something else that's not his name, okay, now you're taking his name in vain. Plus, when you go in there on a day that's not the seventh day, and you go on a day that is the first day, and the Father created the days by number, not by name. So now what you've done is you've put yourself in a position where now you are taking his name in vain. because this is what you're doing. And when you run in there and you call him the Lord, or you call him God, you're taking his name in vain, because you are not respecting or honoring who he is, because his name is great above all, and there's only one name that you can be saved by. Okay, and we'll go to Jeremiah 16, and we'll talk about that as well. 16:5. So my point is, you're taking his name in vain, and that's a don't do. So to don't do that, and to do instead of don't do. Don't be in these wicked facilities with these people who are spouting out false truths and also deceiving individuals who could be the elect in these facilities but don't know they are. So now if you're in there participating in this and breaking this particular law, then that's a if you don't do that, then now you're doing instead of not doing in terms of obeying that commandment. Okay. All right, let's move on a little bit more. Okay, he said he won't hold you guiltless, just like he says in Shalaki. I believe it is. I know it's chapter 12. What is it? What book? What verse? Shalaki. I know I have to come back to that. I know it talks about taking the Holy Spirit in vain. It's in the New Testament. I have to go back to that one. Forgive me. All right. All right. Let's go to 12. Keep the Sabbath day to sanctify it, as the Lord thy God hath commanded thee, or YAHAWAH thy power hath commanded thee. All right, 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day it is the Sabbath of YAHAWAH thy power, or the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, for thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy manservant, nor thy manservant, nor thine ox, nor thine ass, nor any of thy cattle, nor any stranger that is within thy gates, that thy manservant and thy manservant may rest, as well as thou. Okay, got to really break this one down for you. Okay, now that's fourth commandment, by the way, if for those who aren't following this, okay, and don't know. So, because I know it has a lot of content in between each one I talked about, and I didn't give you a specific number, but you should know them. But I want you to know how to do them as well. I'm not trying to focus on the number. I'm trying to focus on what it is that you're supposed to do or not do. Okay? A lot of people get strung out over trying to know which one it is. You need to know what they are and what to do and what not to do, more than you need to know the number. Yeah, the number will come to what they are, which number is the first, second, third, fourth commandment. But the bottom line is you need to know what you're supposed to do and not do, okay? And how to do it, which is this subject about. Okay, all right, so getting back to the Sabbath. All right, let's understand something about the Sabbath, okay? Because a lot of people get this stretched out. The first thing they get twisted is the fact that they say, okay, what day? And they say, well, the day is kind of confusing because, once calendars started being calculated and the first calendars that started coming out, they talk about the Sumerians and their calendar, okay, which happen to be, you're talking about Hebrews anyway. All right, you're talking about not all, just bear with me, all right? All right, then we talk about the Sumerian calendar, and they talk about the Mayan calendars, and they talk about Pope Gregory's calendar and how he threw out 11 days, and then he pulled back this and added 3 more, and then he also decided, okay, he's got to put a leap year in because they couldn't figure out how to keep it steady. There was a lot of mess going on in terms of messing around with calendars. But see, one thing that you cannot get twisted and confused on, and you won't get confused if you follow YAHAWAH's way of setting it up. YAHAWAH set up days in number. He did not set up days in name. So, and the only day that he did name was that Sabbath, the seventh day. That's why he called it the Sabbath. It's the only specific day that he sanctified. He made it holy, and he also blessed it, and he also did it himself. So if he took time to do that to that one specific day, and he did it to none of the other days, okay, this was the only one. Think for a minute. Just stop and think. If because the creator of everything that's ever been thought of even existing to be created now and in forever, decided to take this particular day, the seventh one, and put his honor. And can you imagine his honor? I mean, This is what you probably cannot even imagine. You know how much of an offense this is to not take that seventh day and do his rest work. Now, I call it rest work. And then why do I call it rest work? Because those of us who serve Yahawah and we do what he wants done, we don't consider sitting around doing nothing on his day as being honor to him, because we know that at this point in time, from what we understand and learn from YAHAWASHI and from Yahawah, is that though his children, his servants, his Obadiahs, we have to work during that time because that is our rest. See, our rest is in the understanding that we're doing what Yahawah wants us to do in terms of calling out those that he has selected and helping to wake them up. So when you see the Akim out on the highways and byways, and they're out there on the seventh day, and they are actually working, and they're speaking, and they're teaching, and they're preaching the word, and they're trying to call out and wake up the hopeful elect and those that Yahawah Bashim Yahawashi needs to have awake. And so that is a form of honoring and respecting, and that's our form of rest, because the rest is the peace of mind that we have the Ruach HaKodesh on us to get out and do that commandment, do that Sabbath. That is a rest for us, because if we do not do that, we cannot rest. Maybe you don't understand that, but let me see if I can make it a little clearer. If we can't do his work, and we can't pronounce his righteousness, and pronounce his freedom and his mercy, and pronounce his word and his law, and pronounce and speak and teach and preach this, we can't rest. There's no possible way we can rest. Hopefully that kind of rings home to you. So that's why we have to do that commandment, and that is our rest when we get out and do it, because that puts such a cloak, such a covering of peace and rest on us when we are doing his commandments the way he wants them. And hopefully that makes some sense to you. It probably don't to some religious practitioners that say that the laws are done away with and things like that, but they don't understand. That's not correct. Okay, let's move on. Okay, all right. Okay, we did that one. Okay, man, servant, and rest as well. Okay, and remember that thou wast a servant in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord thy God, Yahawah thy power, brought thee out thence through the mighty hand and by a stretched out arm. Therefore, Yahawah thy power, Lord thy God, commanded thee to keep the Sabbath day. Honor thy father and thy mother, okay, as Yahawah thy power hath commanded thee, that thy days may be prolonged, and that it may go well with thee in the land which Yahawah thy power, or the Lord thy God, giveth thee. Okay? Now, the honoring of the mother and the father. There's a couple different breakdowns I want to pull from this to help you out with. Clearly, we know that we are to honor the seed that brought you to this terra firma, this earth, through the power of Yahawah. And when the Father allowed that seed to be transmitted into that womb of that mother of yours, no matter what's going on with them, whatever purpose he has for you, once you transcend the womb and get out here, you are to fulfill that purpose and that gift that Yahawah has given you. Okay, and knowing that this is a blessing from Yahawah, you have to honor the fact that you had the ability to pass through this portion of life. Yahawah Bashim Yahawashi, he could have decided to destroy you before you even got out of the womb, or even in there, okay? Or once you got, as soon as you got out. It's his prerogative to do what he wished to do with who he created, okay? So let's just not get that confused. So from that part of the physical manifestation of honoring your mother and your father, no matter what twists or turns or ways they went right or wrong, it's not you to judge that part of it, okay? That is not your pay grade, if I could use that term. So you do honor them, that they were the vessels that were used by YAHAWASHI to bring you life, okay? Do that much for that part of it. Okay, going on to a deeper meaning of this. Okay, Father. You notice they have a Mother's Day. The pagans have Mother's Day, and then they have Father's Day on this particular earth, and how they present that. And they present it as a holiday. But that's not scriptural in reference to what Yahweh says to do. He did not say have a Mother's Day and have a Father's Day. He didn't say any of that, okay? And you won't find it, so don't look for it. And if you do, then show me and post it, comment it, and then I want to see it. And I want to see it not only in one place, I want to see multiple precepts that speak to a Mother's Day celebration and a Father's Day celebration, because I have not been able to find it because I know it doesn't exist, okay? But from the perspective of Yahweh, in terms of being able to honor Mother's Day and Father's Day, Yahweh, he took this created terra firma, this earth that we are created from, this soil, this dust, which happens to also be of a darker color, of a kadar color. It's not, he didn't make anybody from white sand, okay? So let's not get that twisted, okay? He made us from the soil of the earth, the dust, and the dust is going to be dark. And anybody's ever seen any dust, any real earthen dust, or just pick up some earth, it's going to be brown, a dark brown, or something black, or something of that nature. You ain't gonna find nothing that's going to be pale or white. Let's not lose that. Okay, now to digress. What I'm saying is, the earth has been considered many times, and even in Yahweh's word, as a mother or as a incubator. Okay, and you can find that in some places. In other books, like the Nag Hammadi and the Pseudepigraphas, volumes 1 and 2. What I'm saying is, the earth has been construed and spoken of as a mother that gives birth to a multitude of children of the planet, which Father made everyone from the dust of the earth. So there you have it, as far as that mother goes. So honoring thy mother in that fashion, from that perspective, in terms of following the law when it comes to that, and you have lived long on the earth, transcends into these areas of you don't destroy this terra firma, this planet, this earth that you live upon, which can sustain your organic metabolism, which Yahweh has built to sustain you. That's why he said in Genesis that the earth gives seed, and the seed is the meat, and the meat is the food that will replenish and sustain you, because you come from this terra firma. The animals that eat from this earth metabolize that product, and in turn that product is eaten, as well as some of the animals that are clean. Okay, not animals that are supposed to clean the planet, but animals that are clean. And from that metabolism, what ends up happening is the actual product that you eat continues to nourish you, and it can help keep you healthy if you're eating in a healthy way. So honoring the planet means don't destroy it. Whereas Esau Edom, what does he do? He creates GMOs. He puts oil in the waters. He pollutes. He destroys. He tears everything apart in order to try to see how it works, as opposed to following the Father's law in reference to how it was created. Case in point, if in most cases when Esau decides to learn about anything, when he gets his hands on it, he takes it apart. He destroys it in order to try to find out how it works, instead of just going to the Most High, which he can't do, and that's probably why he destroys it, and ask for guidance and ask for knowledge to understand how it operates and how it works. And you've noticed most of the chosen people of the seed line of Israel, of Jacob and Isaac, of Jacob, who have done things in the world that are related to the planet as far as the health and welfare, and producing something that would be substantially beneficial to the planet and to the people who are on the planet in trying to survive, including animal, vegetable, and mineral. I like to use that before I go into making the person's name known. One of my favorite Hebrews that had a lot of consternation to deal with in life, and his name was George Washington Carver. If you don't know who George Washington Carver is, look him up. He's one of many of the Jakes that have done things that honor thy mother, and meaning that mother of this planet that sustained the life of you, incubates you. You live on this terra firma, and you are in this incubator and on this incubator until you transition out of here, and then the spirit and the life that's in you goes back to the Father, and he does what he sees deemed necessary with that he gave from the beginning. So honoring your mother is clearly a way to not destroy the planet and the womb that you live in and upon. But that's not seemed to be the case in terms of Esau, Edom, and what he teaches. And he has taught this to the extreme, and people are destroying this planet. Okay, and not just Esau, but he is the main one in the front line. But there are a multitude of other Jakes and individuals and other heathens in the world, Moab and Ammon, and I can go down the line. They're destroying the planet. Okay, clearly. But then Yahweh's not going to let it be completely destroyed, because that's not his will. Okay, now honoring your father. As far as honoring your father is concerned, you got to honor the Father who created everything, which means you do not do things that will be of a dishonor to him. And one of the things that are a dishonor to him is to follow the ways and the means of Esau, Edom, in terms of the path that he's taking this world on. And if you're not obeying his commandments, and if you're not worshiping him and praising him for every single thing that you do and get. I mean, most people don't even realize how much you should honor your father and mother. But honoring your father, we're talking about right now. I mean, just think about the fact that you don't think about the ability to see. In most cases, most people don't think about that every day. If you're not born without sight, or if you lose your sight, you don't think about the fact that I can see, and I can see colors, or I can see different things, or my vision is this or that. That's just one aspect of that you should understand that honor is supposed to roll through. Not just what he gives you, but the fact that you get involuntary things that go on with you that you don't even seem to appreciate, because you don't worship and honor him and speak of those things, like being able to breathe, being able to just do, your heart moves and beats by itself. The involuntary things that your brain does, that your eyelid, certain things that your metabolism just does because Yahweh built it in that way. So you don't honor him for the things that he's shown you in love that clearly a lot of people take advantage of, and some people don't have it. So you got to realize that. That's how valuable that is to show him worship and honor for things that you don't even think about at times. And when you do think about him, how do you honor him? In what way? Do you follow his word? Do you spread this word? Do you talk to people about this? Do you share a moment with someone who may be in a position where they are trying to come out and come into truth, and do you help them to come all the way out in terms of what Yahweh has shown you about his word, his love, his grace, his mercy? Do you do that? Do you know how to do that? That's another do in commandments. See, that's that doing part of honoring that father and that mother. When you put those things together with the earth being honored as the womb you live upon and that you're in, and as the Father and the blessings he's done with your metabolism in your mind, and the fact that you can think and you can reason, and then you can put this part all together and you honor your father and your mother in that way, because that's what the Father has asked you to do. And this is what YAHAWASHI and YAHAWASHI is supposed to be all about. That's why they're a family. That's why you have the Father and the Son and that power of the Holy Spirit of YAHAWASHI in the middle of all of that. It just keeps that whole covering completely stable. Of course, the Father is ultimately in control of it all. Okay, all right, let's move on. All right. And now we're also going to talk in reference to, we talked about the Sabbath day. All right, 17. Thou shalt not kill. All right, thou shalt not kill. This is confusing to a lot of practitioners also, because when they talk about here is they say, okay, don't go out and just kill anything. Well, Father actually kill things based on the level of obedience or disobedience, in the level of free will, his free will that he decides to deal with, as far as what is an abomination to him and what has went the way of wickedness, and then some that he's created for that purpose that have to be killed. Our Father is a great man of war. YAHAWASHI is coming back to perform what our Father needs done. So killing in terms of the process of maturation to the degree of creating and sustaining life is different from thou shalt not commit murder, which YAHAWASHI spoke about in the New Testament. But most people and religious practitioners get that very confused because they don't distinguish between the difference between an abomination that has to be destroyed and in the practice of destroying it. In most cases, it will be killed. But as far as a murder is concerned, meaning you lie in wait and decide to do something that is corrupt and is a higher level of abomination that creates that. So you are on the spectrum of the abomination, not on the spectrum of the righteous that is killing for a food source or for a purpose of sustainability in a righteous way. But murdering someone is not a righteous way, no matter what your whatever your disdain or whatever your misunderstanding or your so-called understanding is in terms of lying in wait to murder someone, even in revenge. That is not what Yahweh is in favor of. So that is a do, not a do. A do to kill for food, to kill for sustainability, and back when it was a sacrifice, that was sustained and that was not an abomination. But at this point, if you go and you lie in wait and you murder anything that includes that anything the Father created, you are a murderer, and this is unforgiving, and this is an abomination. Know the difference. That's a do and a do not. Do on righteous, do not on abomination. Don't do the abomination, okay? We know, all right? You got to learn what commandments to do and not to do and how to do them, because no one's teaching that I know of. There are some Hebrew Israelites that are talking about this in ways, but I don't know if they're breaking it down to this degree. Okay, next is thou shalt not commit adultery. Now, of course, we know that there's a couple different ways to do that. Adultery is a form of idolatry, because we're going to go into that next. But I'm saying I want to make sure we understand that. See, our Father, his commandments and his righteousness flows. Because if you get to know who he is and how he is, then you'll see his righteousness flows through all his commandments. They are so very well linked together. It's almost like one whole commandment, the way it's linked. I love that. Okay, so what I'm saying is, don't commit adultery. Committing adultery, of course, in the physical with our flesh and what Father created between man and woman, is that you do not go out and you decide that once you are committed and submitted to this particular person in your life, whether you be male or female, not talking about two males and two females, because that's an abomination and Father doesn't support that. I'm talking about a woman and a man and a woman, okay? If Father puts you together, not man puts you together, if he puts you together and you're together and you're with each other and you create that stability, you create that union. When you go outside of that union and you be with someone else that's not who you're supposed to be with, you have committed adultery. Okay, especially when you have a union that has been put together by the Most High, YAHAWASHI. I'm not talking about what man sets up, because man sets up a corrupt union. We're not talking about him, okay? So therefore, under that premise, if you commit that level of adultery based on the carnal lifestyle and fleshly driven issues of how you operate on this planet, that is an abomination to the Father, and that is a do not do. Okay, so if you don't do it, then you're doing right. But if you do it, you're doing wrong. Do not do. Okay? Now, all right, as far as the adultery with the Father, if you go after Caesar Borgia and you decide Caesar Borgia is going to be your Savior, your God, and you're going to worship him and you're not going to worship the Father, then Yahweh, then that's an adultery. You're created an adulterous relationship because your Father is who you were supposed to be. That's the marriage to the Son, the Father, Son, and that relationship has to be solidified between the family. And if you go outside of that, you have been committing adultery to the Father in terms of your practice. We're going after fake and false gods that man has set up. That's the form of adultery. Okay, and that's a do not do. So you're not supposed to do that. Okay, all right. So there you go. All right. Now the next is says, neither shalt thou steal, and neither shalt thou bear false witness against thy neighbor. Okay, steal. All right, how do you steal? Well, you can see clearly that commandment is very important, but that is something that I think everyone in their life has experienced to some degree, whether it's happened to you or whether you performed it. Now, it doesn't matter if you performed it at a great scale or a minute scale. It's still against what the Most High said do. And the reason why I say that is because you can steal ideas, and that may not seem to have physically hurt someone unless it transposes into that. You can steal affections, you can steal people, you can steal physical objects, okay? One of the biggest thefts that has happened to the world is the stealing and the thievery of our identity by Esau Edom. They stole not only our identity, but they stole our belief system. They stole the way it's supposed to be brought forth to the world, and they stole the planet. They stole everything. And thou shalt not steal. And this is what they've done. So we're not supposed to follow or support what they've done because of what they've done to steal. So just like if you steal something, if somebody steals something today and you receive it, they say this law in this land says you're in violation and you're complicit for receiving stolen goods. So you get punishment just as well as the person who stole it, because you're compliant. You're saying, okay, yeah, they stole it, and you're going to get a piece of it. You're willing to accept a piece of it, or accept as much of it as you want. So you have to. So in the rules of this government here, they hold you liable for that. So the Father does too. If you are in agreement and you're following a religious practitioner process where you know that our belief system, you know that our heritage, you know that our land, you know that all of the things that the Bible specifically says that Esau stole, you're willing to accept and be part of it and say this is your world and you're into it as well and you're just as much on board with it, then you're to the Father, you're a thief too. Yes, you are. You're a thief too, because you did not denounce it and you did not come out of it. So you're just as much a thief as the ones who stole it. So think about that for a minute, because that is a do not do. Do not be compliant. Do not follow what they do. Do not do as the heathen do. It says it in the word, but people do it anyway. Okay? All right? All right, what's next? Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Well, clearly we know that that's what's going on here in this world. We are getting false witness bared against us on a regular. They not only do they bear false witness against us, but they set us up to destroy us and then turn around and put us away for crimes that we did not commit, based on the fact that they set you up to do it. In other words, they plant evidence against you and then use that evidence against you to put you away by bearing false witness against you. That's what they're doing. They're doing it even in the word. Through the word in itself, through the law, they say, okay, God loves everybody. That's bearing a false witness against your neighbor, because that's not scriptural. And he does not love everyone, because if he did, then who is YAHAWASHI coming back to destroy? And why did he say he hates Esau and have an indignation against him forever? So you're bearing false witness right there once you say something of that nature against your neighbor, and we happen to be the neighbor. The closest one to the Edomites, to Esau, Edom, the Hebrew Edomites, are Jacob, because Esau was Jacob's brother. So clearly, we're his neighbor, and he bears false witness against us all the time. So that's completely against the Most High's law. So that's a don't do. Okay? All right. Neither shalt thou desire thy neighbor's wife, neither shalt thou covet thy neighbor's house, his field, his manservant, or his manservant's, his ox, or his ass, or as his things that is thy neighbor's. Okay? So, okay. You know you're not supposed to go after someone else's love. And a wife is supposed to be a love of your life. You don't covet and go after somebody else's, or want to have or steal or take someone else's wife. The Father clearly sees us through YAHAWASHI as the wife of the bridegroom. And the fake Hebrew Edomites that are over in Jerusalem have coveted us and have coveted our things and trying to replace us as the bride for the bridegroom, which is YAHAWASHI, who's been sent by the Father to reconcile all his children, Jacob, the seed line of Shem, Abraham, and Isaac, back to Yahweh. And we have been coveted by Esau, Edom, and the heathens of the world. And that is breaking the commandment, because you're coveting all of his things. You're coveting the neighbor's house, which is the house of Israel. You're coveting the field, which is the multitude of the children of the offspring of Yahweh. And you're coveting all of our land. You're coveting all of the blessings that we're giving to us in our metabolism. You even want to covet our melanin. You covered anything and all things that were given to us by the Father. These words Yahweh spake unto all your assembly in the mount, out of the midst of the fire of the cloud and of the thick darkness, with a great voice, and he added no more. And he wrote them in 2 tablets of stone and delivered them unto Moses. See what I'm saying? This is what our Father did. It's only us. It ain't nobody else. That's who it was given to. That's who everything was given to. There's no one else is written in this. You can't be spiritual Israel, and you're not going to be able to do that. Okay? 2nd Ezra. Okay? All right, 2nd Ezra chapter 6. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest, Lord of all thy creatures, of him we all and the people also whom thou hast chosen. That's us. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes, Hebrew Israelites. As for the other people, which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing but be like unto spittle, and hast likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. But we thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy favorite lover, are given into their hands. So you can see why we're dealing with all kinds of consternation. And this is what part of the problem is, because Yahweh put us in their hands for doing the things that we weren't supposed to do, which was, okay, following them and worshiping wood and stone and doing the things that was not righteous to the Father. Okay? All right? But that we will stand up soon. But let me read some more. Okay? Deuteronomy. All right? Chapter 7. Okay. Neither shall you make marriages with any of their daughters. You shall not give unto his son, nor his daughter shall you take unto your son. For they will turn away your son from following me, that's Yahweh, that they may serve other gods. So will that anger, Yahweh, be kindled against you and destroy you suddenly. Okay? All right? Yahweh, our power, our Elohim, has chosen you to be a special people unto himself above all peoples that are upon the face of the earth. That's chapter 7, verse 6. Okay? All right? Okay, let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 14. 2. For you are a holy people unto Yahawah, our power, and Yahweh has chosen you to be a peculiar people unto himself above all the nations that are upon the earth. See? All right. Let's go to all right. Okay, let's see where I'm going to go next. Okay, all right, we're going to do Jubilees. How about that? I know that'll mess with you. We're going to Jubilees chapter 2, and I'm going to start at about 20. Let's talk to Moses here. And he said unto us, Behold, I will separate unto myself a people from among all the peoples, and these shall guard the Sabbath, and I will sanctify them unto myself as my people, and will bless them as I have sanctified the Sabbath, and do sanctify it unto myself. Even so will I bless them, and they shall be my people, and I will be their father, their Elohim, or not like Elohim, but Yahweh. And I have chosen the seed of Jacob from among all that I have seen, and I have written him down as my firstborn son, and I have sanctified him unto myself forever and ever. Okay? And I will teach them the Sabbath, that they may guard the Sabbath thereon from all work, and thus he created therein a sign in accordance with which they should guard the Sabbath with us on the seventh day, to eat and drink and to bless him who has created all things, as he has blessed and sanctified unto himself a peculiar people above all the peoples, and that they should guard the Sabbath together with us. So you can see the Father's chosen us. He ain't choose nobody else. Okay? All right. I was also in Jubilees. All right. Chapter 15. Starting at 28. And do you command the children of Israel and let them observe the sign of the covenant for their generations as an eternal ordinance, and they will not be rooted out of the land. For the command of is ordained for a covenant that they should observe it forever among all the children of Israel. For Ishmael and his sons and his brothers and Esau, Yahweh did not cause to approach him. See? And he chose them not because they are the children of Abraham, because he knew them, but he chose Israel to be his people. And he sanctified it and gathered it from amongst all the children of men. For there are many nations and many peoples, and all are his, and over all has he placed spirits, ruach, in authority to lead them astray. See, these are the other nations, okay? For him. But over Israel he did not appoint any angel or spirit, for he alone is their ruler, and he will guard them and require them at the hand of his angels and his spirit, ruach, and at the hand of all his powers, in order that he may guard them and bless them, and that they may be his, and he may be theirs from henceforth forever. You see what I'm saying? Yahweh specifically chose us. Nobody else. No other people. You do not get to write yourselves in. Ain't going to happen. Okay? All right. Now I am going to read from Isaiah, and I'm going to finish it out here. Chapter 44. And here we go. Yet now hear, O Jacob and servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen. Thus saith Yahweh, that made you and formed you from the womb, which will help you. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and you, Jerusalem, Israel, whom I have chosen. For I will pour water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. I will pour my spirit upon your seed, and my blessings upon your offspring. See, that's even all of us, all the way down to this date. Okay? And they shall spring up as among the grass, as willows by the water courses. One shall say, I am Yahweh's, and another shall call himself by the name of Jacob, and another shall subscribe with his hands unto Yahweh, and surname himself by the name of Israel. Thus saith Yahweh, the King of Israel, and his Redeemer, Yahweh, Lord of hosts. I am the first, and I am the last, and besides me there is no other God, no other power. And who, as I shall call and shall declare it, and set it in order to me, since I appointed the ancient people and the things that are coming and shall come, let them show unto them. Fear not, neither be afraid. Have not I told you from the time, and have declared it? Ye are even my witnesses. Is there any God or Father beside me? Yea, there is no rock. I know not any. They that make a graven image are all of them vanity, and their delectable things shall not profit, and they are their own witnesses. They shall see not nor know, that they may be ashamed. Who has formed a god or molten graven image that is profitable for nothing? Behold, all his fellows shall be ashamed, and the workmen they are minted. Them all be gathered together, let them stand up, yet they shall fear, and they shall be ashamed together. So Father's telling you, there is no power other than him. He is our power and only our power. No one else can claim him. This is just not possible. And that's why I went into saying, with all of what he's offering and given us and blessed us with, I wanted to tell you, you have to do the things that he said do, and do not do the things that he said not to do. That's the major part of knowing the commandments and being able to do them. Don't do the things the heathen do. Do the things opposite of that, and you follow the commandments, which is what you're supposed to be doing anyway. It's not something that's unbelievably hard to do based on just don't do what they do. And then you'll be doing what you're supposed to be doing. I hope this clears up a little bit of what I was trying to expound on, the doing part of the commandments, teaching us how to do them. This is what you're supposed to be teaching your children. This is what you're supposed to be teaching your brothers and sisters, you know, the family who may not be called out yet or come into the truth. This is the part that you can explain when someone asks you, how do you do the commandments, or how you going to do the law? This helps a little bit, I think, in terms of that particular transition until the kingdom arrives. And with that, I want to say shalom. And hopefully this will benefit you, and you can pass it on to the rest of the Akim and to the rest of the brothers and the sisters. And just try to do, not just know, because that's one of the major parts of the commandments. Shalom.